After President Trump's bizarre interview with Laura Ingraham this week, where he said that we need to allow 600,000 Chinese students to come to America and go to American universities, otherwise many of them will go bankrupt, and we need to continue to hand out H1-B work visas to foreigners like candy as we reindustrialize America, it opened a much-needed conversation that many on the right, the gatekeepers in conservative ink and the mainstream conservative media, didn't want to have about the legal immigration problem and the H1B work visa loophole. So let's have that conversation. People are starting to notice something very strange about the H1B foreign work visas, like the fact that the overwhelming majority of them go to people from India. 71% last year. Under 12% went to people from China. And, well, I mean, none of them basically went to people from Europe. But these are the best and the brightest in the whole world, according to Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, who need to come here. We need them for their expertise. Here's some of them now, celebrating Diwali at the famous poop throwing festival. It's long overdue for this scam to end for many reasons, and stay tuned because you're going to see the tremendous pushback now coming from several members of Congress who are introducing legislation in order to just stop all H-1B visas from being issued. Again, they claim that it's the best and the brightest, that we need their expertise, but we pay them much less than American workers. It's a known secret. It's an open secret, not even a secret anymore, that this is a legal loophole to import foreigners who will work longer hours for far less money than Americans. So stay tuned and I'll get into all that. But first, real quick, I launched an entire line of what I'm calling discrete t-shirts, which are my original designs, but instead of the logos being large and covering the entire chest, they're rather small and off to the side. It's called like a pocket design, but there's no pockets on these shirts. So they sort of look like a work shirt. So you're not going to be so loud and noticeable. But anybody who understands what these symbols mean obviously is going to be in the know. And so you can get them from markdice.com or click the link in the description below and click on the discrete link, or just scroll down a little bit and they should all be listed there on the main page. If these foreign workers are such experts, then why are we paying them so much less than we pay Americans for the same job? Here's just a quick chart showing the median pay for various industries, various jobs, from technical lead, software engineer, Java developer, and they're between 20 and almost 50% lower than the American pay. Here is Silicon Valley entrepreneur Palmer Luckey, who developed the Oculus VR headset, which then I think was purchased by Facebook, by Meta, talking about how this system actually works.
Of course, there's so much H-1B abuse. You would not believe what I saw when I was in Silicon Valley. It is insane. It's obviously a program to try and replace U.S. workers with basically slave labor that can't ever escape. The H-1B abuse is crazy.
And the big tech titans like the Indian workers because they don't care about American holidays. They'll work on Thanksgiving and on Christmas and on Veterans Day. They don't observe American holidays because they're obviously not Americans. And they can pay them much cheaper to do the same job because they're glad to get out of the dung pile country that they come from. Back before the Democrats went completely off the rails and abandoned the working class in favor of their new voter base, the future citizens of America, the illegal aliens that have invaded us by the tens of millions, they actually did care about American workers being replaced by these H-1B visa holders. Here's CBS News from back in 2017.
The H-1B visa bill was written in 1990. It lets companies recruit foreign talent for emerging engineering and scientific jobs. But loopholes allow for outsourcing of American jobs to foreign workers, often at lower pay. Bill Whitaker spoke to some Americans displaced by H-1B visa workers for Sunday's 60 Minutes.
When you tell someone their real reason for getting rid of these jobs is for cheap foreign labor, That should offend everyone.
They have to train the worker who is going to take their job.
Right. They are told by their company, if you don't train this person in a way that we approve of them being trained, then you don't get your severance.
He lost his job to a foreign worker, like thousands of other Americans every year, laid off because of a program that allows companies to replace employees with foreign labor. But before leaving, they often are asked to train their replacements.
So sorry, Grandpa, if this is where you're going to drive the Trump train, then we're going to have to take the keys and we'll drive it from here. Do you understand? Even the boomer viewers over at Fox News are starting to wake up to this.
700,000 H1-B visa holders in America. Now, who is coming to this country to take these high-skilled jobs?
High-skilled jobs? Of course. I mean, we're dealing with Fox News, so you're not going to get the whole truth. But continue.
As I mentioned, STEM fields dominate the occupations. And most of the workers come from India. In fact, 70% of H1-B visa holders come from India.
The smartest people on the whole planet. I mean, certainly wouldn't be from Germany or other parts of Europe, right? Or even up in Canada. It's the poop throwers.
Another 10 to 15% come from China. 80% of H1-B visa approvals are for entry-level or junior-level jobs. That's a little hard to stomach when we hear that we're not talented enough or that we're not skilled enough for these jobs when you consider that most of these jobs are actually at entry or junior-level jobs. And it's definitely to the benefit of corporations, tech companies that can hire foreign workers, trust me on this, cheaper than American workers.
That's right, which is why scam artist Vivek Ramaswamy, who got rich on a pump and dump stock scheme, is now running for governor of Ohio. And Elon Musk raged against people who were opposed to the H1B loophole on Christmas Day of all days last year. Do you remember that? Which generated this meme, which you never thought you would see, showing a MAGA supporter there, pulling on the rope, being joined by Bernie Sanders, of all people. And then on the other side, you have Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk. And before people like Vivek and Dinesh D'Souza and Elon Musk started whispering sweet nothings into President Trump's ear about how fantastic this program is and how we need all these people from India to come here, the smartest people on the planet. This is how President Trump addressed the situation when he was running for president back in 2016.
Well, first of all, I think, and I know the H1B very well, and it's something that I frankly use, and I shouldn't be allowed to use. We shouldn't have it. Very, very bad for workers. And second of all, I think,
of course, the highly skilled workers that President Trump used at Mar-a-Lago and his other properties for the H-1B workers had nothing to do with the tech industry or the medical industry. These are like maids and cooks and dishwashers.
I think it's very important to say, well, I'm a businessman and I have to do what I have to do, and it's sitting there waiting for you, but it's very bad. It's very bad for business in terms of, it's very bad for our workers. And it's
Yeah, see, it's good for his pocket. It's good for the corporate pockets, but not for the average worker. And can we just go beyond just the implications of the wages that it affects and go on to how it is affecting the demographics in America as well, the cultural fabric of our society? These are the kinds of people we definitely don't want in our country. We only want to know about them from a National Geographic special or like the Tyler Oliveira YouTube guy going over there and documenting the Diwali poop throwing festival. Now, to be fair, President Trump did add a $100,000 fee on top of, I'm assuming, only some H-1B visas. So if a corporation wants to bring a foreign worker over here, they have to pay the government then $100,000, which obviously then disincentivizes them from hiring someone who actually isn't highly skilled in order to replace American jobs. I'm just assuming that that's not the case for all of them. So after President Trump's embarrassing and disastrous interview with Laura Ingraham this week, the White House is doing damage control and posted this on their official social media accounts, a link to a Daily Wire article. Okay, they couldn't just post a statement saying that Trump is promising to crack down on H1-B visa abuses. Whoever is running the White House social media account obviously needs to be better educated about what kinds of news sources they should be sharing. Maybe post some commentary from Steve Bannon, who's been warning about this abuse and the browning of America for years.
Mass illegal immigration, which the Chamber of Commerce pushes all the time, and more legal immigration and trade are just two sides of the same coin, right? The two sides of the same coin, it's suppression of workers' wages. Okay, mass illegal immigration is to flood the zone against predominantly black and Hispanic working class so that you've got unlimited labor pool and you can keep wages down for higher margins. The immigration and the H1-B visas are the same thing in the tech area, that you don't have to hire American citizens. I can do it with these visas to increase margins. Trade is the same thing. Trade is just you're competing against foreign labor in foreign countries unfairly. And so all of it is to suppress workers' wages and to have higher margins, therefore higher stock prices, therefore more wealth, of which the workers don't own any piece of.
Not to mention the further browning of America, which you're not supposed to oppose still. Many on the right, the establishment types, we know who, will call you a racist if you just start noticing too many things and start asking too many questions about what's going on with the demographics in America.
The so-called browning of America, which is something I've said I don't care about, because I don't care about that. I care about how people vote. I care about how people assimilate. I care about how people reflect American.
The problem is, we all know the vast majority of them don't assimilate. And in fact, many of them are actively hostile against American culture and against American interests. In fact, their children don't even assimilate. It usually takes 3 generations from an immigrant coming here until their grandchildren finally assimilate into American culture and into American values.
Okay, when I say I don't care about the browning of America, what I mean is I don't care about ethnicity. It doesn't make any difference to me.
In America, of course, we know that, Ben, but your precious Israel must maintain its supermajority of ethnic Jews. Of course, Ben Shapiro knows it better than the founding fathers, who, when they established the first Congress, set the rules for who could become a citizen of the United States and restricted it only to white people. And Ben has a solution to American tax dollars paying for the illegal aliens to be housed in fancy hotels in New York. Remember that $300 a night, 20% of the hotels in New York were housing or are housing illegal aliens. It's like $9,000 a month, which then ups the rent, ups the housing prices, all of the illegal aliens, the 30 plus million of them and their anchor babies, and the legal immigrants, skyrocketing the cost of living and housing costs. But Ben Shapiro has a solution for that.
If you're a young person and you can't afford to live here, then maybe you should not live here. I mean, that is a real thing. Yeah, I know that we've now grown up in a society that says that you deserve to live where you grew up, but the reality is that the history of America is almost literally the opposite of that. The history of America is you go to a place where there is opportunity.
So according to Ben, Americans don't have the right to live in an area where they grew up once they become young and working adults, but Jews have the right to the borders of what they claim to be Israel, even though they hadn't lived there for 2,000 years. And then when they went back there in 1948, after World War II, there were already tons of people living there that they then told to get out. And Olivia Krolacek, who is mostly a women's rights activist who's trying to protect and preserve women's spaces for actual women, posted something very interesting on Twitter saying that she has been offered a lot of money, $3,000 to $5,000 per post, in order to promote the H1-B work visa program, which begs the question, which other influencers have accepted that money and are posting in promotion of it without disclosing that? Maybe J.D. Vance can talk some sense into Grandpa Trump so we don't have to take the keys. Here he is recently sitting down with Lindsey Graham's boyfriend, Sean Hannity.
A lot of young people are saying housing is way too expensive. Why is that? Because we flooded the country with 30 million illegal immigrants who were taking houses that ought by right go to American citizens.
And again, I have to add legal immigrants as well. But hey, you know what? If we could just get rid of 10 million of the illegals, I mean, that would be a good start.
And at the same time, we weren't building enough new houses to begin with, even for the population that we had. So what we're doing is trying to make it easier to build houses, trying to make it easier to build factories and things like that so that people have good jobs. We're also getting all of those illegal aliens out of our country, and you're already seeing it start to pay some dividends.
I'm sorry, JD, but I didn't hear you mention anything about the H1-B visa abuse. Probably because the Silicon Valley Titans are whispering in his ear. So we have to turn to a true America First patriot like Marjorie Taylor Greene, who made this announcement yesterday.
My dear fellow Americans, I'm introducing a bill to completely eliminate the H-1B visa program, which has been riddled with fraud and abuse and has been displacing American workers for decades. There will only be one exemption in my bill, and it will allow for a $10,000 per year cap on visas issued to medical professionals like doctors and nurses who provide life-saving care to Americans. However, even this $10,000 per year cap will be phased out over 10 years to allow us time to build our own pipeline of American doctors and physicians.
That sounds perfectly reasonable. And Senator Jim Banks also says H-1B visas have become a corporate scam, selling out American jobs for foreign labor. My American Tech Workforce Act ends this abuse and fixes the system to put American workers first. Absolutely fantastic. And what else is fantastic is my new discrete t-shirt line, which again are my original designs, but not so large and covering the entire chest. More like a company logo, looking kind of like a work shirt until people get up close and see what the actual logo is. And then those in the know obviously will understand. So order yours from my online store, markdice.com, or click the link in the description below and check them out.